So at Western States Metal Roofing, we have one of the largest color selections in the entire industry, but we also really strive to provide a quality product. That starts from the time we manufacture it to the time it shows up on your job site. But what you don't see in the background is the amount of money and time that's invested in all the testing and approvals. So we wanted to get Mark Fields, our technical manager, on a video to explain that further.
This is the Metal Roofing Learning Channel, brought to you by Western States Metal Roofing, where you can find a variety of colors and finishes, all while saving by buying factory direct.
So today I'm here with Mark Fields. He's the technical manager at Western States Metal Roofing, and we're here to talk about anything and everything with testing and approvals. So Mark, I think maybe the first thing is, what makes a panel an engineered panel?
An engineered panel is typically a panel that is part of a system, a complete system, including whatever needs to go with that panel to install it. So clips, fasteners, and it's tested together as a system. Let's say we were going to just take our Western lock, we're going to get it tested. We don't only send the panel, we say, okay, here's our mil certs on the coils that we use. These are our minimum specs. Here's our specs on the clips, and here's the clips. Here's the fasteners we use, and here's the specs on the fasteners. And then we send all that to them along with our installation guide, and they take all that information, they'll look at it, they put it all together, they put the panels together, they put it in whatever kind of testing you're doing, whether it's wind, rain, they're going to test it, and then that whole mock-up, including the clips, the panels, the fasteners, that all becomes part of the system. So what you've done is you've tested that system.
So Mark, who needs to know the testing or engineering information?
I think the testing benefits everybody. You take the end user, they're getting a safe product, they're getting a product that is designed for their building. The contractor, they benefit because they're able to know that what they installed is going to meet the requirements. It helps the installer because they know they should get what they need at the job site because it's ordered as a system. So they're going to get their clips, their panels, their...
It helps the engineer.
Right.
So what are some of the main things that you're testing for? Load charts, how far it'll span, things like that. What are the main things there?
Probably the main thing that everybody looks at is the uplift in different situations. If you have a panel going in, say, southern Florida, it needs to meet one criteria. And then you have panels that are being installed in, say, here in Phoenix, it doesn't need to be anywhere near what Miami or Broward County would require. That's probably the main thing you hear about when people talk about testing. But there's air infiltration, water penetration.
As you mentioned earlier, one of the more popular testing and approvals is the UL report. Can you explain the UL report a little better, what that covers?
So let's just take Texas, for example. Texas has a requirement to the insurance companies that if a resident can prove that they put in a class 4 impact rated panel, then they are required to give that customer a discount on their insurance because they're, basically they're saving the insurance company money by going extra to get a roofing that is impact resistant. The other one is really talked about a lot now, especially in California, is getting the Class A fire rating, especially I say California because of a lot of the fires that they've had in the last few years. But it's truly a system. It's a system, just like we talked about the engineer, that fire Class A fire rating is based on a system. So it's not only the panels and fasteners, but it's going to most likely include the underlayment or what is underneath the panel that also works with the panel to prevent the fire.
So there's another report that you hear quite often, the ICC reports. Can you talk about that a little bit further?
The ICC is say it's more of an evaluation process. So we have all these tests that we've talked about. The tests, if you think about it, if you're not getting the same panel and running the same panel with the same clips, with the same fasteners, your tests, I would say they're really not accurate because you have a variance in one panel to the next panel. And one of the things that the ICC does is they have you install a QC process where you say, okay, all the coil we use will meet this spec. Every panel that we run that panel, and then we mic the panel, we measure the panel, and we make sure that it's within the tolerance of the tested panel. So every panel we run, we make sure that they are all like panels. We don't let them get out of spec from each other. And so when we test something, it will always meet the same criteria as the original panel that was tested. The ICC, not only do they do that, but they take the tests that we run, they evaluate the test, and then they ensure that we would meet, in most circumstances, we would meet the requirements of the IBC, the International Building Code, or the IRC, I think it's the International Residential Code. So they give us a ESR, which is a formal ESR. Like for us on roofing, it's going to be 4729. Anybody can go look at that. It will have our panels on there. It will show the panels, and it will show the minimum requirements. It will show the clips we used. They will have all that on a form, so anybody can go look it up and say, hey, Western States Metal Roofing meets this part of the IBC, and then they can take that and actually use that as proof that that panel meets what it needs to meet. And most of the building departments take that as, hey, it's gone through the ICC, they've been evaluated, this product's been evaluated, and it helps them get that through the plan check, through the building department.
Yeah, so if you're trying to get your plans approved, whether it's residential or commercial, having that ESR number is probably one of the most important things, correct?
Right, yeah.
So Mark, what panel profiles do have testing at Western States Metal Roofing, and how do you find that testing?
Well, we have quite a few panels that have testing on them, but probably the best way to do it is to use the document finder on our website and choose the testing and approvals, and it will give you the opportunity to choose your profile, and it will show the testing that has been performed on that particular panel or profile.